Hello, hello, hello. 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 Hi. Yay. Oh, I know, just what a nice day today. I am very excited to be here at the Birmingham Museum of Art. Let's give a big thanks to them for hosting us tonight. Thank you, Birmingham Museum of Art. Specifically Rachel, thank you, Rachel. And to the curators who brought out, and the art handlers who brought out Jiha's work in the galleries for us to view tonight, and for opening for us after hours in the museum. We love this, we love museums. I also would like to thank South Arts. South Arts is a partial sponsor of this lecture, so we're very grateful for their support. South Arts is based in Atlanta, but it is a granting organization that you all, if you live in the South Heights region, can apply to for funding as well. So I encourage you to check them out on my website. They're a wonderful organization, and we're really, really grateful for their support. So you probably know this by now. I'm Kristen Tordella-Williams. I'm the MSA president. This is the last evening that we'll be together at the conference, and it's going to be a celebration. So we're going to kick off with Jiha's lecture, and then we'll be staying here for dinner, eating dinner and celebrating Tony Bingham, who's our Master's Award recipient. Yum, yum, yum dinner. And then we'll have a late evening final celebration at Trim Tab Brewing, where there'll be a scholarship and what's the other word for it? Benefit. Scholarship and benefit auction, both for our scholarship program as well as for Serve Plus. So please join us at Trim Tab. And if you have objects for the auction, bring them with you. And we'll bid on things. There's gonna be some fun things. I'm excited to get a fun thing. I don't know yet. You better have brought some good stuff. Okay, I think that's all the housekeeping I have for now. So Jiha Moon is from Daegu, South Korea, and currently lives and works in Tallahassee, Florida. Moon's gestural paintings, ceramic sculptures, and installations explore fluid identities and the global movement of people and their cultures. She says, "I'm a cartographer of cultures and an icon maker in my lucid worlds." She takes cues from a wide range of history of Eastern and Western art, colors and designs from popular culture, Korean temple paintings and folk art, internet emoticons and icons, and labels of products from all over the place. She often teases and changes these lexicons so that they are hard to identify yet stay familiar. Moon's work has been acquired by museums around the country, including this one, and the Asia Society, the High Museum of Art, the Mint Museum of Art, the Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden, the Renwick Gallery, and the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. She is a recipient of the Guggenheim Award and the Joan Foundation's Painter and Sculptors Award. Her mid-career survey exhibition, Double Welcome, Most Everyone's Mat Here, organized by the Halsey Institute of Contemporary Art and Taubman Museum, has toured more than 15 museums in the country. Moon is currently an assistant professor in the art department at Florida State University. Let's welcome Jiha to the stage. Please turn off your cell phones. Thank you.
I'm so short, guys. You can hear me okay, right? Yeah. Good evening, everybody. I'm very privileged and honored to be standing here and have an opportunity to talk about my work to a lot of sculptors. So thank you so much for inviting me. And this invitation actually came about a year ago. We emailed back and forth a lot. And in the last minute, because I'm a procrastinator, just like you guys, I look at my slide and I removed a lot of paintings. And then election happened. And then after big unexpected result, and I look at my slide and I put it all back on my paintings again in my lecture. And I was thinking that, wait a minute, we think about ourselves as a artist, and underneath the big umbrella of being an artist, we have this division of everything we have, like printmakers, painters, sculptors, digital artists, and performance and video art. A lot of it, right? A lot of it. Can we just be an artist? So I put it back my painting again because we need to listen to each other, right? Like I want to show what I did and how I become an artist first, and I didn't want to erase that part of my history to talk about my sculpture practice to sculptors, and because my perspective being a painter is very, very important. So here we go, we're gonna get started. These are the title of my solo shows from the past 10 years, capturing the essence of what I create in my studio. So I thought that it's kind of interesting to look at all these exciting titles without visual, and I want you to kind of imagine about what I do in my studio. The next slide is a screenshot from Alice in Wonderland animation, not the original. So when I think about what am I going to talk about my content in general, this conversation comes in my mind and how it's capturing the essence of what I'm trying to do. So if you can read it, right, and imagining what's happening. So these are the conversations going back and forth in the animation, not the original novel. So the Walt Disney animation and adaptation, Alice in Wonderland, based on children's novel written by British author Lewis Carroll, same title, Alice in Wonderland, in 1865. Alice is looking for a tea party, and from here, I organized these 3 core ideas about what I do in my studio practice. I don't really think about my contents, and I probably have vague concept or idea, and it's not always certain. And I deal with a lot of uncertainty in my studio. And I often really confused of what I'm doing, but I know that I'm gonna figure it out as I go. So some of the concept I think about it, but also people ask me about this question. So looking back what I have done, and these are the 3 core things that I'm really concerned about, and also people ask about. So the first one is original versus adaptation. And like the first slide you were thinking about, we always thinking about like being an artist, you have to be the original, you have to be the creator, like initiate this thing. And how often that is really possible. We almost thinking that it's almost impossible, everything is done, right? And also often people kill the painters, like, oh, painting's so bad. I've heard that expression more than 30 years, so I resurrect all the time, I guess. But then adaptation is really influence and how we observe that, recreate and retelling the story. That's what we're doing. And that's also a very creative process. Like Beatles songs, and I understand, I mean, I have so much time enjoying the Beatles, but the younger generation, they don't know who they are. And then someone, BTS or Korean, like, K-pop singers are singing about Beatles old song and retelling the story, and that's how they make connection. And I think it's okay. It's a part of creative process. The second issue is the staying the present moment. So I think about this way: if we are trying to capturing the moment, it's utopia. That's what we are trying to do in terms of art making. I feel like I'm actually really okay to capturing our present moment, even though it has a little bit of utopian perspective, but often really dystopian. I call it purgatory. I am happy where I am and about this time, and I want to focus on that because in heaven, everything is so happy and everything is so resolved that I don't think they need an artist. And artists, like, we need it right now, right? I'm much happier right now as a purgatory moment. So I see my work is very purgatory. So it has a lot of problem, but I'm trying to find the happy moment to reconcile or develop or create more things that I can express myself to be happy as an artist. So I see my painting is a chaotic landscape, sculpture as hybrid portrait. So in a way that I am also like to say that I'm I don't know. I don't think maybe some of you disagree with me, but like I'm a terrible introvert, but I'm a really trained introvert to be extrovert a moment like this. But I often hide in my studio making things, and I'm very, very happy. And I really believe that objects have a power. And I'm an object maker too. But and in the end, the painting is an object too. So sculptor, you're making object-based work, and I believe in that power. Like, it has its story, and it goes down to the next generation. They will study, and I feel like the museum is such an amazing place that honor the object and then talk about artists. So the spirit kind of goes around it. So anyway, within those realms, I'm also developing my iconography, both in 2D and 3D. So when you feel like you're lost, you recognize something, and then your storytelling begins from there. So I kind of see like a Cheshire cat is like this monsterish thing. In the beginning, you saw the slide, where it's kind of like trying to guide, but also confuse Alice. Like, if we can say that we are all Alice, like getting lost, trying to find the tea party as a happy place. But you find something recognizable, and then you can kind of reinvent that. And that iconography is something that I'm really playing with. So I'm creating a landmark that doesn't give you so much a great answer. If you follow my map, you might get lost, right? So understanding these core elements in my studio practice, I can talk about my preview. I created a little preview of my lecture because I brought almost like 100 slides, but I want to read a little note, so I want to say important things up front and beginning. So from a fourth slide until the 15th slide, I will have the preview of based on my work images. The question, where are you from, can be tricky to answer these days. Identity as a concept linked to geography, citizenship, ethnicity, and race tend to morph. And these shifts strongly affect my work's imagery as Asian American living in the Deep South. My work features cultural landscape that looks familiar and strange simultaneously. I'm a cartographer of cultures and an icon maker of my fictional world. I take cues from both Eastern and Western images, folklore, art history, and popular cultures. I twist and hybridize these to tell new stories of different global lives. I incorporate my source of inspiration to reflect on our time and make my own story. I draw inspiration from Korean folk art, the colors from in Korean temple paintings, Mexican mask, and milagros. I incorporate the shape of fortune cookies from American Chinese restaurant and patterns from Blue Willow, the British design that reflects widely misunderstood Asian love story. My Yellow Wave series is inspired not only by pop artist Walt Wittgenstein's brushstroke of blonde beauty, but also by color yellow as a vibrant symbol of Asian representation and glorious visibility. Emoticons, smiley faces, are the most minimalistic portrait of the 21st century. Bananas symbolize the second generation of Asian Americans, and now they are adding another meaning in my studio, celebrating the beauty of aging. Southern face jugs and peaches, the state fruit of Georgia, where I have lived for the past 20 years, also played multiple roles in my work. I teach and transform this lexicon and make them familiar yet harder to recognize in their new context. So I read the little notes. Sorry, I'm like DJing here a little bit, so I can see a little pause. So how did I get started? I was a painter first, right? I guess I got some kind of award when I was in elementary school, and then I called out in front of the podium, and I got an award that I didn't even understand or make what I made. But I just understand now as an educator, the positive reinforcement works so much better than the negative ones. I know for sure that works really well with my student and my son as well. So I have these three project that I would like to very shortly talk about because it comes out as a sculpture form later on. So painting on hanji, quilt painting in collaboration with my grandmother, and hybridized painting that I have ceramic elements on the top of painting later on. So this is like a single fan painting. The shape is actually came from a handheld shape fan in Korean like object. But here I juxtapose telling the two different landscape on the same page. This painting is called Beautiful Country, directly translated America. That's how we call it. Migu means beautiful country, right? We want the beautiful country. But here's a lot of like iconography. You can see fortune cookies, like, you know, it's American invention. Nobody knows fortune cookies mainland China. It's not Chinese thing. But they're American too. You know, fireworks kind of translate into chrysanthemums. And then I started doing a lot of multiple fan paintings where I can tell multiple stories at the same time. So single fan put together, you know, it has its one story, but when we put together, we have to think about how each story interact with each other. So, and then I kind of have to deal with visually, like, you know, how one image translate, navigate to another space and then sort of incorporate that. So I deal with a lot of that. That was one of my project as a painter. I did it for a long time. And then I create this piece in collaboration with my grandmother. So forgot to flip. So within the picture frame, there's a painting, and then heavily decorated letters. It says "Bless your heart." So you all Southerner know what it means. So it goes both ways. So the letters, like heavily decorated, it's based on Korean folk art. Basically, it's a little bit didactic, but here I try to incorporate in a different way. So I don't use those like lecturish, like saying, you have to get along with your neighbors, you have to respect your like elders, like more like didactic ideas. Here I'm playing with the slang, like expression from the South. And then my 94-year-old grandmother at that time, she was quilting around outside quilts. It kind of looks like a little Korean baby blanket, but at the same time, it looks like a framework. Then I'm jumping a lot from 2014, and now this is 10 years later. My work elaborate a little more. I'm using the quilt elements that my grandma still built, and I had it during the, I had during the pandemic. I was like working in my studio. It took a little while for me to understand how the process develops, and this is right now in the show at Renwick Gallery. So it's what is it? Is this piece of cloth? Is this painting? Is this drawing? Is it quilt? It's a bit of everything. It's mumbo jumbo, but you know, for me, this is painting because I painted a lot. And then I'm also jumping back a little bit. So on March 16, Atlanta spot shooting, massage parlor. I don't know if you guys remember in 2021, 8 were killed and 6 were Asian descent Korean Americans. And it was just really devastating experience because it's in our neighborhood. I live in Atlanta, and I always proudly talk about how diverse we are. I am very proud of Atlanta, but it just happened there. And this is how I reflect in my studio. I wanted to create most beautiful sunshine like painting in my studio, and sort of like the idea of subverting the color from Asian being called yellow to like sunshine. Now I'm living in Sunshine State, but it's kind of funny. Like I didn't want to do so much other things, but really focusing on color itself with the yellow. And then of course that pattern of blue below here came back again. When I think about blue below porcelain, right? I think about Western culture a lot. But here I revisited in each area and then put all the details. But in the beginning, as you see, painting is just a lot about gesture. And something really quick and something really fast, they can sort of like clash, and then they can also create interesting, like, you know, fireworks here and there to be more detailed. And then I also explored the idea of, like, you know, I make this 3D work, can I coming back to my painting surface again? And I started the idea of creating still life. And as you see, it's kind of fantastical, and the yellow waves becoming really more magical, but then also they don't have shadows, so they're not really real. And then here it's my latest adventure, how I incorporate a ceramic component on top of painting. So it's we call it assemblage, but for me it's painting. I wanted to sort of the color negotiate and also harmonize really well. So the fire that I do, a high fire, I use underglaze, and I also use high fire like crystal glazes a lot. So these like brown spots, actually, when you get up close and looking at them, they're very beautiful. So I started using iconography of banana in some way, but then like I reinvented and then adding second meaning. The aging is something beautiful. So I think about motherhood, I think about womanhood, and how we are really constantly criticized and recognized in society. You know, my small way of like kind of giving back to them. You know, it's okay, it's a beautiful thing, it's a natural thing. And then this work is up to date, very new. It's in the solo show right now. And I'm also very intrigued by this notion of the dark time. It's weird, you know, it's beautiful and devastating at the same time. I've been creating this, I call it nocturnal paintings, the night scene. It's really dark time, but all the little creatures come out because they feel safe. And also we can see the stars. So I juxtapose like little just my ceramic elements on top of this dark background. But also I was like didn't want to use traditional landscape color, and I used very dark value color. But like one day I was walking around the neighborhood. I do a lot of like walking to calm myself down. Then I saw this like beautiful bush and like fruits in the neighborhood, and I took a picture. It was like a bright magenta and the dark green leaves, and then it's called American Beautyberry. What a great name. It lives in Tallahassee area. It's like just wildflowers. So the color scheme kind of came from that wild creature. And then this piece is also a very recent work. But from the banana peel, everybody can recognize it more subtle. But here I'm transforming a lot more obviously, aggressively, and it has a banana peel, but has a different coloring. And then I start painting on the like a bare skin of banana. And I'm thinking about something super weak, and we almost think banana peel is garbage, right? But at the same time, I'm combining with something super powerful, like dragon skin. Nobody has seen the dragon, right? It only exists in our imaginary land. But like, can we have power someday? So, but at the same time, right now we have to hide out. We have to camouflage, because that's how we survive. So I think a lot about that, and then it becomes more fantastical storytelling in my work. So now I'm entering my little world of ceramic and mixed media, however you call it, wall hanging pieces and sculpture. And norige is a Korean accessory where people in ancient time and 19th Joseon period, the women wear it under their jacket, and it's a garment, little garment. So I had desire to make that a lot. So I explored that idea, and then later on it became tal, which means masks. So here is 19th century Joseon dynasty painter Shin Yun-bo. He paints this beauty of the Korean lady, and she's holding norige with her hand. If you can see it, that's norige. And this is my screenshot of the existing objects. I didn't make it. I just copied from someone traditionally made, super well made. I wanted to explain the structure of it a little bit. So the main ornament is fancy, like gold, jade, or something really like, fancy stuff is body. And then top is hand knotted elements that they use a silk rope to create these beautiful knots. And I studied this like by watching YouTube tutorials and looking at the books. And I also had an assistant, and I tortured her to death. She quit after the job. She made lots of different knots. So it is just really hard. We practice a lot. But then the bottom part is tassel, it's a silk tassel. But here the traditional, the K-drama, you can see the queen is wearing the jade wig and jade one with the silk tassel. So behind the servant, they're wearing non, or they're wearing the fabric one. I don't know if you can see that one on the right, lady, the green garment, she's wearing the fabric ones. So it indicates social status in a way. So I was like, okay, interesting. So this is Korean boy band, but Big Bang, called Big Bang. Now they broke up, because they are my generation, I'm Gen X, right? But they have now BTS. But here's, I have a BTS picture too. But look at their hair. Look at their style. And and Big Bang is like, they love hip hop. So they like, and one day I walk around in Korean, like, when I visit Korea, I walk around and I hear everything, I understand everything. I was like, oh my God. Like, my English got so much better. But so no, they're rapping in Korean. So like, that's why I understood. So I was like, okay, this thing goes around and then becomes something else, right? And they have a huge respect for like hip hop culture and how, the American, like, hip hop cultures, and they do that for love. and they have a great respect for it. So here, let's take a look at the next slide. So Japanese animation, the anime cosplay, right? Nobody is born with blue hair, right? And there's a little girl wearing pony bees. And there's over the top hairstyle, Marie Antoinette. So now I'm start making my norige. So the body parts, I utilize a ceramic and I can still sculpt and then draw and paint. On the top, I make the hand knotted elements and I cheat it a little bit sometimes. I call it creative. Because when I made this long rope, there's so many lines, it drive me crazy. I couldn't really do it well. So I just put the wire and then cheat it a little bit. But sometimes I do it right. And then the ginger knot, chrysanthemum knots, there's so many knots. It's a language of communication in other culture too. And then the silk robe is like I start learning about how to do hair. So we watched a lot of YouTube tutorial to how to do fish tail, how to do dreadlocks. You know, I'm just looking at a lot of things and then explore the idea of learning other cultures. And I wanted to make so many norige. So people that I understand and people that I don't understand, but I have like I feel like I want to get to know them little better. So I just kind of title them in a very interesting way. And also cross-generational and cross-cultural. And you know, I'm learning from a lot from other people. And I want them to be like people. So I'm creating my own little people. And then I made a lot of them, right? So one is never enough because I want all kinds of different people standing together. And we all a good family. So that was kind of my goal. And I did a lot of that. And then that was it. And I needed to move on because hand knotted element was really, really hard. So I started making masks instead. So hand knotted element gotta go, but I still have hair and I sculpt a lot more. So this is based on African masks. And then I incorporate with Korean folk art quality of like drawing. I could still explore. And then I feel like, you know, I'm drawing on their body or face because it's three-dimensionality. And then it was really exciting. I feel like I'm doing tattoo work. And then I started looking at tattoo too. So I really do not know who they are. I'm just imagining, I'm just like merging them into one different things. And, you know, I just sort of like let that happen in my studio, observe and incorporate. And I always think about like, you know, when I'm making things, instead of being a dictator and making it, I'm a collaborator. You and I, we work out together. It's not a crazy person, but because this object and like I'm a living thing, like, you know, how can? Yes, we can, right? Like if we look at what is going on and observe, the work tells me what to do. And it's a really beautiful way to make work. So I try not to be a dictator because that sucks. I have my way to do it. It has to follow. It never works out. And I do not like it that way. So I make stuff and then looking at it a lot, digest what's going on in my studio. And now we're entering my ceramic sculpture and installation. And March hair is one of the character I explore a lot. I try to make at least one a year because such a crazy, frantic, like, you know, character from Alice in Wonderland. And so this is year 2018, but it comes out in a different way too. And then my fan painting, remember from the beginning, right? So I love the sculpture idea of like the fan painting. So when I talk about one side, that you look at it, on the other side, it says different things. So here says YOLO, YOLO. So I think I was thinking about Obama time, you know, and then, you know, I want to observe and reflect to my work. And then on the other side, it says luck, hope means, it's really not translating exactly. It means blessing in Korean. So I can have this painting side. Oops. I can have the other side differently, right? So this was, what year was this? 2015. So now I'm jumping 2024. And this work is actually in Smithsonian, and exhibition just opened yesterday. Shape of Power is in the Smithsonian Museum now. But I chose to come here. So here, my dragon is friendly. Dragon emphasize and also talk about the power of the king, right? But my dragon is friendly. My dragon is never scary. My tiger is friendly too. So it's coming from Korean folk art quality and how we imagining things more our way, right? So I think it's really interesting that the way I think about making a sculpture as a painter. So here's another interesting example. This is also recent work. So in much of my recent focus on exploring life and death, as a theme, I found Keanu's quote inspiring. In 2019, appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, the host asked, "What will happen when we die, Keanu?" Right? And then this was his answer. Keanu said, "I know that ones who love us will miss us." And I actually cried watching. I probably watched that quote, the video, short video, like so many times. And then I think about it, and I need to make work about this, right? So I have also a funny story I have to share with you, because I have an art historian friend who's a huge dork. She doesn't even have a TV. She has all the books and artwork in her house, and she never watches. I'm sure I saw her playing video game on her phone, but she doesn't do anything. She just reads and she look at art. And she came to my studio one day and look at this piece. She's like, "Is this Jesus? What are you doing?" She was asking me, "What are you doing, Jiha?" Like, no, this isn't Jesus. This is Keanu. And later on, right? And then, if I have to understand, like, just human being. I mean, I love Keanu as a human, I don't even know his filmography that well, but I just love his quote and being a human being, and he's like kind of scrubby here, like kind of like, not put together because he was off movie and he was just talking and doing interview. So that's why he looked like this, right? So the idea of life and death, like, we are such, we think about our life on earth is so short, and I wanted to make it live like beautifully and meaningfully. And then I also have to train myself. Being dead is not a bad thing. And I think about my dad very often. And he also mentioned it when he was alive. You start your life and you have to finish, and then it's great. Great, wrap it up. You have to wrap up greatly. It completes your life. And I often think about it. It's just really, for me, a great lesson. I mean, we all think about that, right? That we living in such a tough time right now. We have to be hopeful. We have to deal with this dark time gracefully, and thinking about life and death. Like, it used to be a boring thing for me when I was in college kids. Like, like, who cares about that? I'm alive and like I'm happy. But now as I turn like 50 and going, like my life is like leftover life is a little shorter than how much I already have lived. So I think about that often, and this theme is just really grand idea, and it's a really hard subject to touch, but it's really meaningful. So I often think about that a lot. Also, banana peel that's why I'm doing it a lot. But here, I also incorporate my personal life to a more grand idea as well. Part of the reason I love sculpture is hey, you see the front is this friendly and kind of funky. But I'm sorry, as you see, I mean, it can be vicious too. So you see front and then you go around to see the back and you put together those two scenes and make a painting. So I think about how images work in my painting and the ceramic, different ways. So another piece. So this form, I call it all storytellers because titling is so hard. So it has the cylinder shape and then the parts kind of attached to it is a Korean mandu shape. It's a dumpling shape. This is how my grandmother taught me to make dumpling, but dumplings like all different ways of different culture, or even pasta, who doesn't not love food? Food is essentially something we can talk about endlessly. At least me, I love food, right? It bring people together. So I use those forms in my work. I'm telling you, this is a lot harder, operating two things. So bear with me. And then on the backside, all these milagros, milagros from the Christian Catholic church, and there's the wishing charm. It's charm that in the Mexican culture they use it a lot, but it's coming from the religion, right? But then they are just combining with the local belief system and then turning into their own thing. It reflects so much about my own understanding of my mother, the Cheshire Cat. So, my mom is Christian, and there's a lot of Catholic and Christian. No, my mom is Catholic. I'm sorry, my mom is Catholic, but I hope she doesn't do it anymore. But she used to go to fortune teller to ask the important things, and so I asked my mom isn't that against your God? And she's like, oh, it's okay. Yeah. Right? So I'm questionable, right? Your religion is I don't understand. But then I think about it that a lot, everybody wants good things and hopeful things and the best thing for their family and their own good. And their belief system is what is important. How they utilize a religion is a bigger notion, but how they utilize it, it's based on their own needs. And that really become mysterious for me. So I explored that a lot. So here are milagros, but I put Korean letter. All of a sudden you feel like you can read it. It's because it says LOVE, right? It's in English. It's my son and my little wishes, right? So I put it in my work. So it's not something I'm always trying to think about the universal thing. I'm thinking about the personal thing a lot in my studio. So now I'm showing you a little of installation view and puzzles. So I use just actually table that I bought from H Mart instead of pedestal. So kind of mimicking Tea Party, my version of Tea Party. Here, the Hirshhorn Art Center director sent me this picture. It was hilarious. It looked like almost Photoshop, but the Japanese cosplay people, they did a festival there and they just sat down and took a picture of themselves. They're not supposed to, but the work is very, well, work is very invitational, inviting, friendly, right? So they dare to do that, and I actually didn't mind. So, oh well, this is really good. I'm going to show it to my lecturer. So I did the installation this way, how I created a little tea party myself, instead of using pedestal, you look at it something like that, you instantly feel like you're the tallest person in the room. And then you have to kind of use your body to get closer and then look at the objects more friendly. So art that makes you work. I like that. Oops. Okay, so I'm gonna go a little faster. I'm sorry, I'm a little slow because I have to use two computers and I'm not very good at this. Korean temple paintings. So I put lots of inspirational things that I thought that you would like to see. And this is Mexican atomic folk art. It's like, you know how kind of color palette is very similar to Korean temple painting and also Korean culture. The next slide will show you that. This is 1 year birthday for my son. And now he's 16, but we celebrate color because color is for free, right? So you don't have to go buy fancy stuff. And we have all these objects, and those are fake fruits in front of it. We borrow from the store, but we celebrate color because it's a free dopamine for us. And then this is my adventurous like discovery, Rose O'Neill, American illustrator, artist, activist who worked for women's vote right. O'Neill made 1.4 million from her cubic creation, making her highest paid and wealthiest cartoonist of her time. Her invented character Cupid is one of the first mass marketed toys in the United States before Mickey Mouse. So I look at the face, it's so cute. It looks like my son always chubby face when he was baby, but also looked like peach shape. That's why I started using that shape. And then I was like, wait a minute, I need to know about this more because I'm like constantly using it. Then I found Rose O'Neill and I was like, what the heck? How come people don't know about her so much that everybody knows Mickey Mouse, right? So I put her slide here. And then this is detail of my painting. And then this is my 3D works. And then you know who she is. My husband always says, if you have not sit down and watched the entire Star Wars, you're not true American. I'm true American now, and I can't stand Star Wars. It's so long and it's so complicated. I fell asleep, right? But I made my Princess Leia. I use like the Korean Celadon style, like glaze and everything, but how I like translate it is this way, right? And this is, do you know this who this is? Yeah. It's a Korean drag queen, Kimchi, and everything she does is like artistry, like level of artistry, the makeup and costume. So I follow her on Instagram, and she's huge inspiration. Now I'm in Florida, I'm like looking at it more, right? Because that's how I am. And I want to make my own version of kimchi. So now 2019, and then 2023. So it's not Dolly Parton, it's kimchi. I have to tell people, some people ask me, do you love Dolly Parton? Like, no, this is kimchi. So I feel like I need to do better, right? So my storyteller series. So front, it says slay. One of my students told me that. Jiha, say slay, don't say awesome. The slay, if you say slay, you and I get connected. So like jokingly, right? So I was like, okay, all right, check. So I observed that influence, and then I make this piece. So the Korean folk art style of letter design, we call it munjado, but like, you know, you saw bless your heart. It's the same idea. But on the back, I painted kimchi, slay, right? So I made all this work in Florida. So I'll just say that out loud. Face job from Atlanta History Center. It has such a complex, sad history of the base job, and a lot of slaves came in and then started doing that, and then a lot of white potters doing it, and it's a part of the history. And I learned a lot about it, and when I make my pottery, I think I'm making face job because I put portrait. Got it. Okay, so I put portrait in it. So I made my face job called Hete. It's also about, you know, mother and the son in the same body, and also like, you know, pumpkin looks like a pumpkin a little. But here, the next slide, you know who she is. Rosie the Riveter, American illustrator, artist Norman Rockwell's Rosie Riveter. Rosie is a famous culture icon to represent strong women during World War II. And I heard that he had a model, a very skinny, slim model, but he exaggerated the arm. And I was like, way to go. We are that, right? Because we use our arm all the time, and I have a huge, thick arm, and I'm proud of it. So my version of Rosie. Yellow Wave series. So I'll go a little faster here. So I use black stoneware and then use a lot of underglaze to paint, front and back, but there's no hard high fire glaze over here. So it's a lot about just the surface and design. So earlier ones, so they're not rotten yet, but right now things are getting rotten beautifully. So I use a lot of crystal glazes to emphasize and celebrate the aging process, and also a very dark night where you can see the stars. So I celebrate with the fireworks. And then I make series of it. So it looks like a plate, but I call them painting. Base chalk. And then this is how we installed, so a group of people standing together. And then I did mural, so I brought my student, MFA student from FSU. And then also I worked with University of Iowa students. So we did the mural, and then we hung my painting and incorporated at the time. So me working on a mural. So look, I'm not a muralist, traditional muralist, but I can do it. Right? It's art. We're all making art. So I think that's my last slide.
We have time for maybe one or two questions. Is there a question from the audience? Can I do my? Where did the Mexican influence come from? Were you just looking at art and seeing a similarity, or did you have?
Yes, so I had an opportunity to go to Santa Fe to do a print, collaboration. And then I visited their folk art museum. And then I was just really struck by it. All the collection of the milagros and the body parts, and knowing that they're wishing charm, it just resonated with me a lot. And then I look up, and then those cultures very similar to some of the things that Korean, like my mom would do. So I kind of like studied a little bit, but I have a lot of my own interpretation. But then Milagros came back, all the charms. I went to flea market today, and those charms coming back, in like all millennial Gen Z aesthetic with the little charms and heart and little boots. So people are making wishes, like for good wishes. Oh, my mother went through cancer. I want her to do well. And it's like lung and breast. And I want my eyes to be better, so I'll do what I want to do for a long time. So it's coming from like a local, like folk, wishes, and then combining with that, the big religion, but the people digest in a way that they want good things for their family. That really hit me really hard, and I wanted to explore. So in a way that my incorporation of embracing things as a voyeurism in some way, that I also think about the cultural, like touristic way too. But if you understand something completely from the beginning, you're all done, right? Like a utopian view. But misunderstanding is always one step further to understand someone much better. So yeah, so it's kind of coming from that. And I think I gave myself permission to incorporate other things more. I'll be very happy if someone make kimchi pizza. Like, I don't want to have entitlement, like, kimchi is Korean thing, why are you doing that? Like, let's not have that kind of attitude. It's more coming from love and appreciation, right? So like, I want to have that permission, like, so why original is so much to talk about. Everything you do is original too, in your interpretation. So in that way, like, you give your permission to be an artist, make things, right? You do not need to go ask someone permission to do that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but like, yeah, I'm also learning from other people a lot.
So I wanted to know what made you start, I guess, incorporating culture into your works, and what made you start branching out and like connecting them, like multiple cultures into one piece.
That's a very good question, and I think it's like why I explained throughout my lecture. But I think that you're meeting somebody, like my Nordic pieces, like, my idea is creating like mysterious a person, right? And you cannot just like imagine or judging in your mind that that person is coming from that based on their skin color or hair, the way they talk, like, actually you get to know that person is to talk and spend some time, and you know a lot more. So it's my desire, like, we all have name, we all have a look, we all have hair color, skin color, but how much of us that we know that person truly? So individual person is like a gem. They have their history, right? And we may carry things, but we are layered, complex human, and I want my work to be that way. I dare want that my work to do that. So I try to learn that, like, I don't want to explore only the Korean heritage, only like American popular culture. I want to give myself permission to learn and observe and layer it, because it's just real. That's more real. Like, I look at my son. He's the most beautiful thing I've ever done. I cannot ever, he's half Korean, half Caucasian. But here in this country, he is very, very Asian, because like he has dark, hair color. But people are so more complex. You guys too. Like, hair also, like, it's something we're born with, right? We have the certain coloring we're born with, but nobody is born blue hair, right? And you are doing it, like the younger generation. I look at that a lot. It's how brave and how also imaginative that you're doing it in your generation. There are things that's shifting and changing, and it's not just something you inherited. It's also part of the culture and how people are. So I'm embracing all of that, trying to make my work. So I'm a constant learner. I'm a constant traveler. I'm also constantly, how can I say, like every time I meet somebody, it's an opportunity to learn something new. I don't know if that answers your question.
Let's thank Jiha. Thank you. I have no idea because we've been here, but let's go to the cafe area.